Hey, what's up? I'm Jay Moss, and today we are going to do a vintage Marshall amp shootout. Amps ranging from the early 70s to the mid 80s, before they did diode clipping, before things got modern, if you will. We've got some really great amps. I have not 3, but 4 killer amps to show you. This being one of them, that being 2 of them, and one you can't see below. I'm going to introduce all the amps now, and we're going to hear them, and this should be awesome. All right, so first up, we have a 1973 Marshall JTM. This amp has actually been modded into a JMP, and then they modded it back, and when they did that, they changed the faceplate. But I have been reassured by my tech that this is a vintage, authentic 1973 JTM. I really like this amp. I don't really think it sounds like the rest of them, but that's kind of the thing with old vintage Marshalls. Even if you had like same model year and like the same type and everything, like honestly, they all kind of have their own voice. And that's sort of the fun and the beauty of acquiring vintage equipment, is you kind of don't know what you're gonna get until you play it. I'm really happy with my collection. This one, I love. It's a baby. They're all my babies, but yeah. All right, now we're moving on to the JTM that turned into a JMP, but is now a JTM again. All right, so next up we have a legitimate JMP, not a JTM to JMP to JTM. This bad boy right here is a legitimate JMP. This might be my favorite era of Marshall amps. The JTM's cool, but I love JMPs. Anytime I can record a JMP, I almost always fall in love with it. I think for me, this is like golden era Marshall for sure. All right, here we go, the JMP. This amp is, I think, just sort of revered by all rock guys. It's good. It's like not too bassy. It's well balanced. It has enough gain, not too much gain. It's not like one of these modern things that's just like, oh, I'm on 2 and it's just completely saturated. So there's a lot of feel across the gain staging. It's a very reactive amp. It's gonna like really react to how hard you hit the strings. Honestly, the harder you hit the strings, the more distortion you're gonna get. So it's a awesome, super fun amp, and I really love it. Good. All right, let's play it with some drums. Can't have a vintage amp shootout without talking about the Plexi. This Plexi happens to be Mark II, and so many bands that I love played Plexis. Everybody from Sonic Youth and Bauhaus, The Cure, My Bloody Valentine, that Plexi tone is all over that stuff. All right, now let's play the Plexi. I'm really excited for this one. I love the way the Plexi sounds. We're going to do it by itself. We're gonna do it with some drums. We're going to try to keep this as consistent as possible so you guys can hear the differences, rewind, download the video, put it in your DAW, hear all the differences for all the Marshall glory. Let's go. Okay, so this is a 1983 Marshall 800. This is just before they did the diode clipping stuff. This still sounds great. It has a totally different voice than the rest. I love this for low chords. My criticism of this era is that with the wrong cab, the wrong performer, the wrong guitar, things can get like kind of piercy, like 2.2K-ish to be very specific. But yeah, it can like occasionally be harsher than I want it to be. But when you dial this thing in, again, especially for low chords, and for me, I think more like personally, like more simple chord structures, it just rules. It has this like life and this voice that when placed correctly, kinda is king, kind of can't be beat. One final note about this amp in particular, whoever had it before me was a jokester. They replaced the front faceplate with a faceplate, I think that is supposed to be about that movie Spinal Tap, so this one goes to 11. All right, and lastly, we're gonna do this 1983 JCM800. This is the most like modern of all these amps, which means it came out 27 years ago. But I actually think that you might hear it in the voicing of the amp. It's funny how you can almost hear the evolution of like more modern gain staging as we progress through the different eras of the amps. I'm really curious to see, like, comment, let me know what ones you like and why. Guitar tone is always this like hotly contested thing. We've all got opinions. I most certainly do as well. So yeah, let me know. This is a great amp. And like I said, it's a great amp for the type of stuff that I'm doing right now, which is sort of like lower rock stuff. All right, so that's that. That is 4 different classic vintage Marshall amps. They all are similar. They all sound Marshall, but at the same time, they all have their own coloration. They all have their own flavor. They all have their own gain staging and breakup. And I think that's really informative for you guys to know. Personally, I find myself using all 4 of these different colors for different situations. It might seem subtle, but to me and to people who care and are like into tone, it actually makes a really big difference. So with that, I am Jay Moss. I hope you learned something. I hope you had fun. Till next time, adios.